It's normally a hold. So, first off, thank you once again, Brad, for that lovely introduction. I wish it were true. Hi, my name is Jacob Peacy. Today, I am talking about how I utilize being a student at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater while also executing some very well-known phishing attacks using the cloud. Now, here is the factual information, mostly. I am a third-year cybersecurity student here at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I don't like free time. If you ever talk to me, you'll find out I'm busy with a lot of other side projects. Currently, I am a project security intern at Rockwell Automation. My manager is over in the corner, Douglas. I am very much passionate about offensive security as well as red teaming in and of itself. While in my free time, I tend to explore the wonderful worlds of it. I am currently the club president for the university chapter of ISACA at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And fun fact about me is that I love toppers and caffeine. Ryan, take note. So, what my original project was going to be was leveraging cloud infrastructure through multiples of the phishing server that I use called GoFish that is open source and is a Docker container. A payload server that is, you can't really see it, but it's normally Pwn Drop, or you host it using an Nginx type server. And your C2 server, I used Mythic, which is a very common C2 server commonly used for launching remote code execution through the cloud. And with all of that, you would need to have a payload server that operates normal. What normal means would be is through Microsoft Azure's front door, or if you go through AWS, it would be through the E3 and a load balancer. And well, I went with Azure because, as I'll get into more detail later. So what ultimately I had to do was deliver a malicious payload that would redirect to the server, collecting get sent to the redirection server, sending all the way back to my payload server to deploy a malicious URL that would send a request to the redirection server, asking for a spoofed file name that would give the executable that would launch, sending a reverse shell all the way back to the C2 server where I got remote code execution. And who here have heard of the hacker high before? Oh, that was a 2-day high. How it came to be, my buddy Chris Hansen, who is in Boston right now, recommended me to do the Cyber Warfare Lab certifications to get a few extra certs besides the CC under my belt. I largely thank Jake for introducing that to me, wherever he is. Somewhere. Also through it, I had an option through my university to do something called an H option or an honors option to be able to graduate with honors as a 3-year student with 2 minors and a major. So I chose to do, oh, there's Jake. Yeah, so I chose to do this project as a form of my H option as well. So kind of more into the detail of what happened is that you would launch a phishing server over it. I chose, as mentioned previously, I used GoFish to it, which would ultimately, you would set up an authentication. It would be kind of your pivotal step to sending a phishing email that you could be saying, oh yes, your Amazon account has expired, or someone cracked your password and stolen your Amazon account shopping cart. Big concerns. Instead, what it would do is that it would be like, click this link, the link would redirect you back to my redirection server, which, as mentioned previously, would download an ISO that was actually compiled that actually contained my malicious payload that was created from the C2 server that would form the reverse shell that was compiled with C#, that was linked all together with a JavaScript script that I wrote, and then packed to kind of perform the stealthy operation with Pack My Payload, which is also open source on GitHub. Through that, it would send the request requesting this random file to the redirection server that would say, oh yes, you're not asking for this file. Here's the payload that is going to launch and say, hey, this person over here somewhere in, I'm going to name a random area, Whitewater, Wisconsin, has access to all of your domain control, has access to your controller to perform further privilege escalation or even lateral movement. Now, here's the issue. I am a college kid. Some of this stuff with being a college kid can be rough, to say the least, especially with taking on a lot. And with being a college kid, taking on a lot, including rent, tuition, minor caffeine addiction, you don't have enough budget for a cloud bill, including Azure front door and all the servers you need to spin up. However, there are benefits to being a college kid. I know a bunch of people who have gone through have taken usage of the free Amazon Prime that came to usage, the free a whole bunch of other benefits. Azure also has this with 100 free credits. However, it is very limited in what it can provide for you with only having 3 VMs and no access to front door. So, I had to improvise. I took away the payload server and combined my solution for not having Azure front door anymore was combining my payload server into my redirection server together using Nginx, which actually successfully worked. I was able to also purchase a $5 domain called Not Malicious URL. You should totally click this. It definitely doesn't lead to a potential Rickroll. It did. But we managed to spin up with Azure, we were able to spin up a domain account, link it, create a type A record with Cloudflare, as well as use, to ensure safe encryption through HTTPS, we were able to use Let's Encrypt to get a valid certificate signed by a trusted CA. That is important for including with the hack is because all communication channels have the encrypted traffic happening. All happened on an unsecured, untrafficked network that only had FudgeKid, and how it's kind of helped me in the further off in my career and my start of my career, to say it really helps me through my entire process. Following a little bit of the hacker, how can I make it my own type of mentality and collaboration with other people in the past. One person who's load balancer that can redirect services. You don't.
What do you use for a dropper? Do you just write basic JavaScript or Git?
The dropper was using Nginx with the logic if you would just return 302 to have them download a file. No real JavaScript needed.
What infrastructure? I'm saying, stop it.
AWS and Microsoft Azure.
Okay.
They don't. I don't think they care. They do. Will? Well, I'm glad I did it in a home lab environment. I saw a question over here.
You mentioned using Azure. Was it purely because of the college or the student credits using Azure versus like GCP or AWS?
However, I didn't want to hook up my credit card to AWS and then one. Could always put it. I don't have to, the question was, what's the benefit of doing it over the cloud? Could it also be done in a home lab scenario? You can do it over a home lab, host things in the cloud publicly. However, you run into risks of someone on the off chance discovering, oh yes, not malicious URL is located somewhere in some random place out of the blue. With the cloud, it's infrastructure that's hosted all across the world, and it's like Microsoft cares, I don't, if the servers were to get taken down. Not. There was some blocking with, especially with firewall rules, while trying to work on this on college campus when I wasn't studying. Especially saying, "Oh yes, use my IP address. Why can I not SSH into it?" I saw a question over there.
So the Azure credits come with a limitation on 3 VMs at a time?
Yes. I know. Hence. We have one class that's ITSCM 400. There's an Agile Project Management in the IT section of it. It is purely taught off of ChatGPT, it seems like. What could? I learned how to both use AWS infrastructures as well as this whole entire through forming the HTTP and the HTTPS credentials as well for both together. I got to first off learn about the certificate authority Let's Encrypt and how they have you don't really need to sign up with an email address or anything else. They kind of just say, oh yes, here. I request a cert with CertBot, send me a certificate. They're like, here you go, here's your cert. No questions asked. I'm like, wow, that was easy.
Did you use wildcard certs?
No. I didn't know how to access it at the time. I just used Let's Encrypt, basic certs that you get off CertBot.
Did you test this on your mom? And if not, why not?
The only laptop my mom has is a one that comes from work, and I'm pretty sure the nonprofit she works for would be happy if that happened.
If anything, they should pay you money to do that.
So, what nonprofit does your mom work at?
No.
Since you're using both infrastructure and like Let's Encrypt and whatnot, and Azure IP address spaces, was it a concern ever that somebody would just kind of come upon this and find it, or the operating? Because like the domain is something that I imagine a lot of people are looking for stuff like that. Like, did you see extra traffic, or did you ever suspect that would be discovered?
No. At the very start of the process of it, they were very OffSec focused throughout it entire, that you would set up the firewall rules so it would only be accessed by your personal red team as well as your defender and everything that's in connection. So you kind of locked it in its own little private tunnel with the firewall rules through the web CLI, the web UI, to kind of constrict everything just to be to the red team and not whatnot.
So I've got a question that's related to that, and also partial answer to. With GoFish, if you don't supply a valid reference ID, you get a 404, which can be signatured as well. But I was going to ask too, did you look into at all any kind of patterning against this to identify it as GoFish from a blue team perspective? And along with that, also like Google Safe Links and Microsoft, whatever their safe URL.
This is a question I didn't really think of as I was going through it. I was just more so focused on getting the infrastructure set up. The only way, thinking about it in the car on how to possibly defend it, was very much like have filtering out for the user agents that requires, because the main reason why the redirection works is through matching the user agent from the actual payload to say you can get to the myC2 server through that unencrypted tunnel.
I've gotten at it pretty quick. we burned our own domains while testing.
Any other questions?
Now that you have that URL, have you thought about putting the honeypot on it?
We would need to, me and my buddy would have to have a permanent type A record to it. The record that's associated with it was formerly a thing that was in the cloud that is no longer in existence, just because exponential growth and 100 free credits tend to disappear relatively quickly.
I'm looking at how long did the 100 credits last?
I still have 88 credits, funny enough. Yeah, I know.
The domain is open.
We still have ownership of that.
But the link is still live.
Link's still live, it's just going to say we cannot find a valid IP. With 3 VMs constantly open. And
Traffic constantly getting hypothetically.
yeah. I tested it out. I had a home lab set up at my own house that I managed to get the public IP address from a Windows machine that I had hidden from my router to my home lab behind a Palo Alto machine that was a Windows 10 that I just was like, oh yes, I'm setting up this fake test@gmail.com that I send an email to through GoFish. I would click the link, it would redirect me to my redirection server, launch the attack. I had to turn off Microsoft Defender 1 or 2 times because it always decided to come back on. Press it, would do its magic behind the scenes, come back to the redirection server, notice that the user agent was there, and through a series of port forwarding, I managed to see everything pop up on the web UI of Mythic C2 saying I can execute who am I and who am I, ID, all the fun identification commands.
Did you add any persistence to it?
I'm sure there is a way. I know that Mythic C2 server and especially their agencies are very commonly used, especially with the red team CRT, I believe, and all that. So I'm sure there is persistence. You would have to look for an Apollo.exe in your computer that has been hidden, mostly in downloads. Mm-hmm.
Kind of glossed over very quickly how you have Palo Alto.
We have a CCDC competition that we managed to get a QCOW2 image off of, and through copies I managed to get it from the previous captain of it. Any other questions?
Well, thank you.
Oh, yay. On my laptop.